Hello and welcome back to the channel. One of you pointed out that my normal intro is impossible since the king can't move, but somehow he's off the back rank. So let's fix that. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're playing Drawback chess, where each player is assigned a random drawback, like Lame Duck, where you can't move your king, or True Gentleman, where you can never capture a queen. My goal is to win 5 games. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, game number 1, we get the black pieces. Our drawback is eat your vegetables. You can't capture non-pawns until your opponent only has 4 pawns remaining. Alright, so this is going to be hungry hippos. Let's play d5 and capture our first pawn. So we can only capture pawns until our opponent has 4 pawns remaining, which is kind of dangerous because in theory, they could play like queen e2, queen takes, and that would win. But of course, half of drawback chess is just, playing bluff, basically. I understand now why so many chess players end up playing poker. Half of this is bluff. Make your opponent think this is a normal Scandi, a normal Scandinavian. And then just try to, work with your drawback until there's an opportunity on the board. We get c4. We must capture 4 pawns. So we actively have to take at least 4 pawns. This is going to be a pretty tough drawback. Let's do bishop g4, at least pretend like we have a pin. Obviously, we can never actually act on it. We get h3. Let's move the bishop back. And we need 3 more pawns. I guess we could try for one of them with like e6, c5. That's why I played bishop g4, so the bishop wouldn't get stuck behind the e6 pawn. But besides that, I want it to look like normal development. So e6, this is pretty natural. c5, if my opponent takes, I take it back. The only concern would be a queen trade, at which point that would just be guaranteed checkmate. So let's play here. Hopefully my opponent does not wish to take. That would be quite awful. And they do wish to take. All right, we can only capture pawns. So let's move the queen out of the way. Our opponent is probably going to start figuring out what our drawback is here in just a second. And truth be told, even if they don't figure it out, they can probably play around it with quite a lot of confidence. All right, c5. It's time to go for it. It's now or never. We'll probably even have to sacrifice. Okay, we take a pawn. We might even have to sack a bishop for another pawn and just kind of get ourselves out of this situation as quickly as possible. I've never in my whole chess career been this desperate to capture pawns. All right, let's castle out of the way. I don't think our opponent understands yet exactly what's happening. It would be one thing if they've seen this drawback before and are like, wait a minute, he can only capture pawns first. But I don't think our opponent is onto us yet. They're just confused why they want a free piece. Or perhaps they are excited. All right, topical name joke. All right, knight to d4, can't do anything about that. Let's just quickly move back. Obviously we're avoiding trades here. Free bishop, can't do anything about it. Not to mention, by coincidence, total coincidence, this knight cuts off the bishop from sacking on f2. So we're gonna have to look for different ways to grab pawns here. Let's do knight b6. With any luck, we can play like rook d8 and intimidate our opponent into moving the knight somehow. And then we can sack, and basically free ourselves of these chains. All right, sack number 1. Almost guaranteed our opponent will take back unless their drawback somehow influences their captures. Okay, cool. Rook d8, hit the knight. I guess it's also pinned, so maybe they don't want to move it. It's not like I can take it anyways. Okay, knight to e2 defends the knight, and I can still only capture pawns. I need to sack this bishop. Let's just play here sack, because I'm assuming that if I've gotten such a terrible drawback, at least such a difficult drawback, either my opponent is a very weak player or their drawback is horrible. But my opponent hasn't made any moves that would lead me to believe that they have a very tough drawback. They can take everything back just fine. I mean, their king isn't suddenly in the middle of the board. They're playing a very normal game. So I don't actually believe that they have a very tough drawback. Okay, we don't have our drawback anymore, so we're totally fine to capture anything now. We've eaten our vegetables, as the drawback says. Question is, what do we want to do with this newfound freedom? It's like letting a rat go free after being in a cage its whole life. Let's play rook d7, because I want to keep the pin, but I also want to activate my queen, and I don't want to do it by putting the queen in front of the rook. So maybe queen d8, queen f6, something like that. And I'm genuinely curious what my opponent's drawback is. Maybe their drawback is you must use a lot of time, because they're doing a lot of that. They're using all of their time. But again, this might just be an indicator of a relatively weaker player who's not totally confident in their moves. And that's the real difference between a strong and a weak player. They both play the same quality of moves. The stronger player is just more confident. Obviously, that's not true, but it feels like that sometimes. Let's play. Okay, king goes back, gets the king out of danger. Very well played. I guess we can just take this now. Take, and then we just win the piece back. We're still down 2 whole bishops, so it's not great, but we get one of our pieces back at least. 20 seconds left for the opponent, so we want to try to put them in a critical position. Queen b3 targets this pawn. Let's counterattack, hit the bishop. So if the queen takes, I think we can just win the bishop. There is the idea of like taking, queen back, trying to look for a queen trade. I mean, that feels like it's probably over our opponent's head, if I had to be honest. Bishop goes back to f1, offers a rook trade. How do we make this as difficult as possible for our opponent? That's literally my whole purpose here. Let's just take and then play h6 so there's no back rank ideas. Okay, h6. 8 seconds left for the opponent. We do get 2 seconds back for every move, as you can see from this little +2. Queen takes b7, threatening to skewer my queen, which is not very nice. King to h7, I guess. 5 seconds left. I mean, it'd be a miracle if they pulled this off. b3, just barely. Let's just complicate the position. If we can just cause them enough problems, maybe we'll be fine. Pre-move the recapture. Sweet, we're hitting the bishop. King comes over to defend. Let's play queen to h5, defending f7. There are ideas of check. I don't think they're actually productive. All right, sweet. And with that, we actually win game number 1. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, you won. Your opponent ran out of time. Your opponent's drawback was simplifier. If you can capture a piece with a piece of lesser or equal value, you must. Okay, so that's actually not that bad. And as you can see, it does say that their drawback is significantly easier than ours, which I think is a fair call, because basically what it's saying is that if you can win material through an exchange, like a bishop taking a rook, then you must accept it. And also, if there's an equal exchange, like a queen for a queen, a rook for a rook, anything like that, you must also accept. So not a terribly difficult drawback. I would argue ours is a little bit worse, but we did manage to finesse the victory. Let's go to move on to game number 2. All right, game number 2, we get the white pieces. E4 is highlighted. Our drawback is nope, you can't make the move that Stockfish would make. What? It's gonna tell, wait a minute. Oh, the game was aborted. No, that was our opportunity to play with Stockfish moves enabled. And if you want to play your openings like Stockfish, I recommend checking out the sponsor of this video, chessreps.com, which offers easy step-by-step opening lessons. Drill your opening to climb to the top of the leaderboard, or do puzzles that come from real games. Like this puzzle where I can click back to see how we got to this Jobava London position, before delivering this nasty fork. Puzzles are completely free, so you can keep doing puzzles to increase your opening elo, and then take that practice into a real game, like I did to crush my opponent with the Jobava London. If you want to support the channel and become an opening menace, check out chessreps.com. Now, back to the video. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. That was so good. It was the same opponent, though. That's probably why they aborted, because it was also Excited Purple Dolphin. Oh my goodness. Wait a minute. Let me pop up the info board, even though that's not actually a game. The game aborted. Your opponent's drawback was irresistible. If you can move a piece adjacent to your opponent's king, who cares what their drawback was, to be honest. Why is ours so hard? We can't play the best move. Okay, honestly, I don't know. Wow, I wish we could have played this game, but I will say I don't think this would have been a terribly difficult drawback, because you can always play second top Stockfish move and probably crush another opponent as well. Maybe you just have to set up 2 different ways to checkmate, but that shouldn't be hard if you're already completely winning. All right, whatever. With that, I guess we abort game number 2, but let's go to move on to game number 3. All right, game number 3, we get the white pieces. Let's go ahead and just play d4, and our drawback is chivalry. You can only capture their heavies, rooks and queens, heavies is crazy, with a knight. You can only capture rooks and queens with a knight. Okay, so I guess we just want to keep the position closed, which won't be terribly easy if they do play a true King's Indian. But if they play like d5 straight into a Grunfeld, maybe we can just play for a kingside attack, and it won't even come down to any weird trades. Because I guess that's what I'm avoiding. If I have to end up like fighting for an open file, then it's going to be pretty tough. At least I won't be able to initiate any captures, should it even be better. Okay, we do get a true King's Indian, which is quite unfortunate. Let's play bishop to e2. Generally, you play this to avoid like the thematic idea e5 and then e4 with the fork. Even though this bishop generally belongs on d3, let's just castle out of the way. This is going to be a tough game. All right, we get rook to e8, precisely looking for that idea. Let's play, I guess c4 is pretty typical. Rook c1 is kind of getting ahead of myself. Bishop g5 is an idea. Let's just do that. Bishop g5, I mean, it's not going to do anything staring at a triangle of pawns, so we might as well develop it to g5 and pin the knight on f6. Okay, we do get e5 anyways. Let's go ahead and close it up. c3, obviously, I don't love the idea of e4 and then my knight going back to e1. Whoops, bad arrow. When we do get e4 straight away, but maybe there are some ideas of counterattacking if my opponent doesn't immediately close it, and worst comes to worst, maybe like f3 trying to break open the file. This is a weakness, but there are ideas of like knight to c2 to try to hold down the fort. We do immediately get d5, which is very unfortunate. But again, we're trying to play for a relatively close position, at least as much as is within reason. What about f3 right now? Takes, e4 is possible because this is pinned. My only concern would be f3, and then the queen moves out of the way. Suddenly the knight is free to control e4, and then we won't have a way to break out of it. Let's try c4 instead. Break it down from behind first. Ooh, h6 boots the knight, or rather boots the bishop now. Bishop back, g5, bishop g3. I mean, my opponent can probably grab this space pretty comfortably because what's my counterattack? You know, bringing the bishop out? There's not much going on here for me. Maybe h4 is an idea. g4 closes down the position, just grabs all of the space on this side of the board. Okay, knight goes back to f8. My opponent's doing a great job of finding good spots for their pieces to unlock basically other pieces. Let's go ahead and take on d5 right away. Try to at least create a weakness on d5 with this recapture. We do get that capture back. This knight isn't doing anything, so let's bring it to c5 potentially. Maybe knight to a3, knight b5. I mean, there's some interesting counterattacking ideas here. I'd love to uncover my opponent's drawback. That would be a huge plus here. Problem is, as far as I'm concerned, my opponent's playing a very concrete game right now. All right, we get knight to g6. Let's play knight to a3. And with any luck, we don't get a6. Just let me play knight to b5. Just let me play knight to b5, looking for these crazy ideas, and I can rest in peace. Okay, g4. Yeah, this is fine, I think, isn't it? Knight b5 looks for the fork right away. I wonder if my opponent's looking to just finish me off like immediately. That would definitely be brave. I mean, they'd be on brand with their name at least. Maybe they want checkmate more than I do. I just want to survive. All right. Oh, wow. H5. I don't know if we manifested that into existence or if that was always the plan, but we do get H5. Opponent only has a minute on the clock, which is worth noting. Okay, what is the threat here? H5. And then what? My bishop has nowhere to go? What about here? H4. Just take a free rook. You take. I open up a file. Yeah, let's go for it. I'm genuinely curious to see how this develops. Maybe the bishop moves out of the way to at least defend this. But then the bishop has places it can go after. Not that many places. I say places. It's one square on C7, but there's more options for me at that point. Maybe the bishop needs to stay here to defend g4, right? Because I have this battery. There's so many interesting ideas in this position, and my opponent's down to 45 seconds. Okay, they do play bishop to e6. Wow, okay, we are going to take on a8 with an almost guaranteed recapture, and it seems like we're just up the exchange now. H4 is still on the table. What about just here, just completely ignoring it? You just take, I take back, the knight moves back, e5 is as good as gone. But there are ideas of like knight to d4. This is dropping. I mean, sure, go for it. Let's play rook c2 and at least try to double up, like pretend like we're doing something else. We do get h4. Sure, you can take. I'll pre-move the recapture. Nice, we remove the defender on f6. Ooh, that was a little bit laggy, but we do remove the defender on f6. I've noticed that on this website with like pre-moves. Sometimes it's a little bit oddly laggy, but anyways, we remove one of the defenders of g4, so this kind of loses a lot of momentum. Even though we drop e5 in return, it opens up knight to d4 for us. Okay, knight to d7, we take. Pre-move the recapture again, I guess. Let's see if it spazzes out. Okay, no, we get knight to e5. Let's trade. This is a pretty bad outpost to have given our opponent. Let's play knight d4. Maybe rook g6 looking for the attack. Our opponent has 20 seconds left to make something concrete of this. Let's just play g3. Okay, it is worth noting our drawback is... Oh, wait, we can just take that. Our drawback is we can only take rooks and queens with knights, and there are no longer any knights on the board for us. So we either promote to a knight or we don't ever capture either of these pieces. So this will be interesting. They have 10 seconds left, and I don't think that's enough time to even remotely figure out what our drawback is. Let's just double up and threaten this. They're probably still scared of it, like bishop f8, king h7, something like that, because there's no way they can understand what our drawback is. 4 seconds left. This is not a lot of time. Queen b7 just in time. Let's play queen to h5. I could play check, but I'm afraid of them sacrificing by accident. King to g8. Or rather, king to h7. What was that? Did you see that? Did that just spaz out? Anyways, we get king to h7. I can just take that, can I? Oh no, that's one of their heavies. Oh no, 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 no. They're gonna figure out what's happening. Oh goodness. Wait, what's happening? Are we lagging out? Why are there 45 seconds left on my clock and my drawback has disappeared? Refresh the page? Oh, we're back. Can I... Okay, what? I'm so confused what just happened. I don't know if we just got insane lag for a moment there, but I guess we did win game number 3. We now have 2 victories under our belt, by the way. I say game number 3, but this is really game number 2. I should probably call it what it is. Anyways, let's pop up the info board. All right, you won. Your opponent's drawback was Savior Complex. When in check, you must move your queen or lose. Okay, that explains why our opponent... Wait, does that explain why our opponent... No, I guess it doesn't explain why our opponent was able to move king to h7. I'm so confused about what just happened in that game. I don't know if the drawbacks were just like not compatible or something, but that was very, very strange. Anyways, that was game number 2. We now have 2 victories under our belt. Let's go to move on to game number 3. All right, game number 3, we get the black pieces and our drawback is rook on the 7th. By move 15, you must move one of your rooks onto the 2nd rank. Honestly, that doesn't sound that hard. It just sounds more annoying, like I'm gonna have to lose a rook for no reason. Okay, we get pawn to e3. I mean, worst comes to worst, I can just pull one of these, and I mean, it's basically unstoppable. So let's at least try to keep it civil for a little bit. Keep some pressure on our opponent. Maybe their drawback will somehow shine through first, although it seems unlikely, to be honest. Okay, bishop there. That's a little bit of a strange move already. e6. 12 turns remaining. I don't want to cut this too close for no reason. h3. I move back. g4. Wow, this is super aggressive. I move back again. I now only have 10 turns remaining, which is not ideal, but still should be fine. Okay, knight c3. Let's just go for it. I mean, I might as well lose it now. I don't want to waste too much time before I have to implement my drawback. Oh, no, I've hung this. Oh, our opponent doesn't see it. Amazing. Oh, let's move the rook out of the way and look for c2. Oh, that was a close call. Talk about tunnel vision. Holy smokes. It's so funny because you can tell when I'm doing something that's out of my repertoire because I immediately start doing some funny business like this. Anyways, we're looking for c6, knight back, sack on b2. So hopefully the opponent just defends the pawn. We get the knight out of there and then we just take. Okay, queen to e2, get the knight out, see you later. Actually, we might actually just take it for free now, unless our opponent's willing to defend a pawn to lose a knight, which would then be very weird. Unless they know what our drawback is, in which case we are toast. Oh, knight back! Free pawn? Rook on the 7th. By move 15, you must move one of your rooks onto the 2nd rank. Well, there he is. So does our drawback go away now, please? Maybe it, okay, yeah, it's gone. Oh, that was it. Oh man, we did it. That was amazing. Okay, let's take here now, check, get rid of this rook that's probably gonna get trapped in a couple of moves. And that's it. I think we just cooked up our opponent. Our opponent has to lose material, in fact. So go ahead and drop that queen for me, buddy. Nice, bishop drops, we take. Actually, I guess, yeah, dropping the bishop makes a lot more sense. We'll go ahead and trade off the rooks. And we should just be totally winning now. Queen d6 at the rook. I mean, this is pretty comfy. Ooh, king to d3 is super bold. Just give me check, and then I just pick up the queen. Oh goodness, hang the king instead. Sweet. All right, with that, we win game number 3. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, you won. You took your opponent's king. Your opponent's drawback was paranoid. Your king must always be defended, meaning you must be able to recapture if it were captured, or you lose. That's easily one of the most annoying ones, but somehow we got our rook on the 2nd rank and managed to pull away with a victory. Let's go to move on to game number 4. All right, game number 4, we get the white pieces, d4, off you go. And our drawback is helicopter parent. You lose if you have an undefended pawn. Oh, wait, what? Are all of our pawns defended? Yeah, I guess they are. Wait, this is so bad. This is horrendous. How do I... Wait, this is terrible. Okay, maybe it's not as bad as I'm thinking. Because I could also, like, chain up a whole bunch of pawns. Like, right now, bishop f4 immediately loses because b2. So, let's do that. Let's play e3, defends this pawn. Everybody's still defended somehow, but I'd much rather have the pawns defending each other and just have, like, 1 or 2 pawns that have to stay defended the whole time. All right, we get e6, f4, I guess. It's a very strange drawback to play with c5. Let's go ahead and continue our pawn chain. b6. Interesting. Let's play. Should we just take, I guess? Oh no, because that pawn would be undefended. Holy smokes, for just half a turn it would be undefended. That's insane. Okay, a3, start giving pawns, you know, a reason to be defended. Okay, let's go ahead and trade. Oh, we can't even trade because this pawn. Okay, up you go, buddy. We'll just pre-move the recapture with the king instead. Sure, I guess that's fine. Queen to f3 here is pretty interesting. I guess knight c6 just blocks the idea, but at this point, I'll take anything. Okay, knight c6 preemptively is insane. h4 is impossible because that's not defended. Queen to f3 right away. We'll just have to defend the basically root of the pawns. Okay, d5. I think we can develop now, at least a little bit. As long as this bishop stays here looking at b2, should be fine. And we won. Okay, sure, I'll take it. That gives us win number 4. I have no idea why. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. Okay, you won. Your opponent lost to their drawback. Your opponent's drawback was abstinence. If your opponent ever has 2 non-pawn pieces of the same type adjacent to each other, you lose. And we played knight to d2, so we had knight on e2, knight on d2 side by side, and those brothers won us that game. The insane thing is, too, our drawback is so much harder. Like, this is one of the toughest drawbacks that we've ever had on this channel, and we just won it by luck. I mean, I don't think I've won too many drawback games just by luck, but it definitely comes into play in a lot of different games. All right, we have 4 victories under our belt. Let's go to move on to game number 5. All right, game number 5, we get the black pieces, and our drawback is Savior Complex. When in check, you must move your queen or lose. I think we've had this several times at this point. And basically the meta is just avoid checks and you're pretty much good to go. You also have to be careful about getting into an endgame-ish position. So if you don't actually have an attack going or something like that, you have to be careful about endgames, because endgames tend to lend themselves to positions where you basically have to allow checks. Even if you're completely winning. We get bishop to f5, sure, we'll take back, nice central control. I like that we're already asymmetrical. I think that's good for us. We get queen d2, so queenside attack is almost guaranteed. Let's play here instead of e5, just so we have a little more solid of a base, and then just go for it. With any luck, our opponent's drawback will shine through, and we will never be put in check. Okay, let's defend with the idea of opening up the rook. Oh wow, that's just like the London idea about dropping the bishop back and taking back. Sweet. I'm glad it came into play. Knight g5 is free. Thank you. Always say thank you to your opponent when they give you free material. And we won because our opponent resigned. All right, with that, we win game number 5. This episode has been absolutely insane. I think it's the upgraded intro. I'm going to take full credit for this. Let's go and pop up the info board. All right, your opponent resigned. Your opponent's drawback was stage fright. You can't move to the center 4 squares. Wow, I guess they just rage quit. That's insane. We didn't even have a particularly hard drawback, which is fair. I think if you just figure out quickly how you can stay out of check, you're probably fine. But our opponent had an even easier drawback and just threw in the towel. Anyways, with that, we do win all 5 games. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below what you guys think of the new intro, the drawbacks. Are you guys predicting these? I didn't predict, I don't think, any of them this episode. And I will see you guys in the next one.